wall to wall.
You have to just climb to try to walk through this place.
Wearing full protective suits, we walk through mounds of cans, bottles, filth.
She has to flush the toilet using water from the shower to flush the toilet.
It's hard to imagine calling this place home, but one woman does.
It's hard to explain.
Too embarrassed to show her face, she tells me through tears what it's like.
I didn't mean for it to happen, but it happened.
As you can tell from this trash on the floor, this is not something that accumulated overnight. This woman has lived here for 30 years, and this mess is years in the making. Some people might see this and wonder how you can live in these conditions.
I wonder that, but I do.
Now she won't have to and can't. County officials deem the home unlivable, forcing the homeowner and her 7 cats out.
Be it 1 cat, 7 cats, or 100 cats, it's just not healthy for the animal.
This home is one of hundreds of hoarders' homes in Lee County. Animal Services has had to dedicate one of its officers specifically to hoarding cases. What does that say about how severe this problem is here in Lee County?
It's a big problem here in Lee County. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of calls that we're still trying to get to.
As for this homeowner, Lieutenant Angel Cruz tells me she'll likely receive citations for unsanitary conditions, but the importance of them stepping in goes beyond that.
At the end of the day, it's not about the fine amounts or the fines, it's about getting her the help she needs.
Is this a positive day for you?
Yes, ma'am.
How come?
Because they're going to help me so I can get my house cleaned.
It may look and sound like a normal day of yard work at this home in Lehigh Acres, but this is a labor of love.
The guys are out here hosing, chopping, digging, whatever we can do to help them.
Blowing away years of dirt for a man who put his life on the line for our freedom.
World War II veteran. My son's a veteran. I'd be out here for any veteran.
This cleanup, all part of the United Way Day of Caring, a year-round program that gives back to the community. United Way partnering with Turbine Generator Maintenance to fix up Lafayette Boyd's house today. At 95 years old, he still wishes he could get out there and help.
I couldn't get up to do it because I fell and broke my hip, I broke my knee, and I just fractured other parts of my body.
Those injuries have left him in a wheelchair, making it near impossible to get outside without help. But after crews are done here, he'll have a new ramp, new doors, and a great-looking backyard. It's something Lafayette's family says they couldn't have done on their own.
It means so much. It takes a lot off of my mind.
For me to do that, it would have took me forever.
The World War II vet says he'll remember this generosity for years to come.
Makes me feel real happy.
For some of these children, it's the first time in a couple of months that they've interacted with their families.
Kind of nervous and jittery. Excited.
So many of these families have intergenerational recidivism rates, and their kids are at higher risk of being incarcerated themselves. So if you have 3 kids that are involved in this program, you'll get to choose 3 gifts. We're taking a parent who ordinarily would have been outside of the child's life, and we're intentionally reconnecting them so that they can play an active role in their children's upbringing. Children are often the silent victims of crime. They're the forgotten aspect. They're the forgotten piece of the story. 1 11, 1 2-year-old, and what, boys or girls? Both of them girls. Both of them girls?
And I hope that they don't make the mistakes I made.
This is my beautiful daughter right here.
Ooh, look at the pretty.
We're seeing that the inmates who are involved in our program, they're actually getting less disciplinary reports.
Being in prison, you know, it's kind of hard. You miss your loved ones around that time of the season, you know, but you make everything all right at the end of the day.
48-year-old Cape resident Patrick John McKean is rethinking his actions on the night of October the 2nd.
What were you thinking? I wasn't.
McKean says he began drinking very early last Sunday morning, riding his bike to a few different downtown Cape bars. And he admits things started to get a little blurry. McKean's drinking spree ended at the deck here in Cape Coral. He then got on his bicycle and began riding up Southeast 15th Avenue. When police arrived on the scene, he was laying face down on the pavement, about 50 yards from where I'm standing. The police report says even though he was still unconscious, he was still holding a beer. He cut his head open, but not seriously. He says he didn't feel a thing and doesn't remember much. You don't remember any of it?
I remember EMS having things on me, and I asked them to get away from me and leave me alone, and that was the next thing I know, I was in handcuffs.
Police eventually arrested McKean for DUI, even though he was riding a bicycle instead of driving a car.
Well, a car I agree with, a motorized vehicle, a mower, something of that nature, but not a bicycle. I've never heard of BUI. I've heard of DUI, but not BUI.
BUI meaning?
Biking under the influence.
Biking under the influence. Well, we had to call Cape Police about this one. They released us this statement, quote, Mr. McKean was driving impaired on a bike, and he was endangering himself and the public, so we arrested him for DUI. And under Florida law, he can be arrested for DUI. McKean, meanwhile, plans on fighting the charge. Would you do it again?
Oh, absolutely not. Not if I knew I was doing it, but, you know, it is what it is.
In Cape Coral, John Rapolo, Fox 4, in your corner.
Even as a baby, Melissa, nicknamed Missy, had a way of making others smile. Just ask her Aunt Helen, who was a child herself at the time.
Just always had that connection with her. I felt like I did. From the time she was born, I was 7 when she was born. There was something about that scrawny little kid.
That scrawny little kid grew into a beautiful young woman. It wasn't long before she was married and had kids of her own, 5 of them. It's when she was expecting number 5, little Wyatt, that Missy's mother says she first noticed a problem.
She was pregnant and she found what appeared to be a bug bite on her breast. And when she talked to the doctor about it, they thought it was a clogged milk duct or mastitis, which is an inflammation of the breast.
The skin on her breast looked like this, changing color, getting mysteriously thicker. Missy, who was in her 30s, didn't know it at the time, but they were signs of a little-known yet potentially deadly condition, inflammatory breast cancer. Unlike more common forms of breast cancer, it doesn't necessarily show up as a lump, and in some cases can be nearly impossible to detect on a mammogram.
By the time she was diagnosed, her last child was 7 months old, and she was advanced stage 4.
That was 6 years ago. Fox 4 paid the family a visit that Christmas. By then, Missy had lost much of her hair to cancer treatments.
You weren't expecting us, were you? No, I wasn't.
We had the honor of showering her and her husband with gifts from you in the community, reading her a letter that Missy's Aunt Helen wrote us about what might give the family some comfort.
It's not about things, it's about time together. A family getaway would be a great gift for her, just some time where they can feel normal. And we've got a family getaway to Universal for you and the entire family.
Missy flashed her shy smile as we asked her what the trip would mean to her family.
A lot. Yeah, especially for the kids. They've been through a lot. It's been rough.
It's got to be tough for them.
I have a good feeling.
Yeah, everybody say cheese. Cheese.
That family picture and the other moments of togetherness that followed became more precious with each passing day.
Her favorite thing to say in that time frame was, "That's a memory. You need to write that down."
Missy's only daughter, Jessie, is also her oldest. She was a teenager at the time and began to realize that her younger brothers would not come to know her mother as she had.
How do you make up for that?
It was at one of the last family events where they were all together that Jessie's heart finally began to feel what was coming.
I was the only one that she saw graduate. And I remember her, hold on. When she found out it had spread to her brain, she looked at me. She was holding my youngest brother, who was about 1.5 to 2 years old.
And she said, please make sure he remembers me. And at that point, it hit me that, you know, this isn't gonna end how I want it to. How I have felt the whole time my mom will get through this, and it was like reality, and I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to fix it for my brothers.
Missy's 5 children would grow up without her. Her only wish was for them to feel what she felt from her own mother her whole life.
I think she wanted them to know that she was a strong person. She loved them dearly. And that you could do what you needed to do. In really tough situations. Sorry, and that she loved them dearly.
Missy was just 38 years old when she died, but her love lives on.
My regret truly is that she didn't get to see this Emery come into the world.
Emery is Missy's first grandchild, a baby girl. Turns out devoted mothering runs in the family.
When I look at Jess, I see Missy. She's her in just a different form. And I'm lucky to have been her.
Talking about Missy's story can still feel so painful, even years after her passing.
Still.
Of course.
Probably always.
The tears flow, but there's a reason they fight through them.
Sorry.
They're fulfilling Missy's final wish.
She just really would want the word to be out there. Even if you've never heard of IBC, you honor Melissa Whitaker and just research it. Tell the next person. Make it like Facebook, share it, pass it on. That would be Missy.
Missy wanted you to have the early warning she never got.
The diagnosis of it is really the pivotal point. Because it's a nasty player, we want to get to it early.
Dr. Mary Kay Peterson tells me the difference between life and death could come down to something as simple as you recognizing the signs.
There's a dimpling of the skin. The skin becomes thick, like the skin of a navel orange. It can become red, inflamed, hence the name inflammatory breast cancer. Sometimes it can itch. Sometimes patients say that they feel a mass, but not always.
Missy's family wants you to pay close attention to even slight changes in your body.
She knew something wasn't right, and you have to follow your instincts, especially something this powerful and aggressive. Missy always wanted to be a teacher, so in a way she did. She taught us all that we have to find answers for ourselves and not rely on anybody else and push through.